Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jillian. It's great to see so many of you here today for the workshop. I'm very excited about this, if you can't tell, so don't mind my energy probably blaring through the screen here. Today's workshop is the Flourish Framework featuring Mike Gingerich. Raise your hand if you're a member of One Handshake. Quick, quick. Let's see. Who do we have here? Who's here? Represent. Woo, woo. Nice. All right. And welcome to those who are joining for the first or maybe second time. Really glad that you're here. At One Handshake, we're not just about content, we're also about the context that community brings. So we learn and grow together through shared experiences, conversations, and connections. So I'm really glad you're a part of it today. But let me tell you a little bit quick about Mike before we get started and I hand the reins over to him. I first met Mike over 10 years ago at a marketing conference in California. And we had a great connection, even, and pretty much immediately, actually. I remember just sitting down next to him and we started chatting. But in any case, years went by and we continued to follow each other loosely on socials as you do. But then a few years ago, we reconnected much more intentionally and have, been in touch obviously quite a bit since then. He's worked for a global NGO. He spent over a decade leading a web software company. And over the past few years, he has made some radical shifts in his life, which to me provides like the special sauce or the secret sauce to what he does. He now lives in Quito, Ecuador, where he runs two organizations, I Give Global, an NGO, and Live It Well, a holistic wellness company offering corporate trainings, talks, personal coaching, and retreats. He has a master's degree in organizational development and leadership, an undergrad in psychology. He's a yoga instructor and is certified in the Chinese practice of Qigong coaching. Woo! What do you do in your free time, Mike? I can tell you actually. He likes to summit volcanoes in Ecuador and be outdoors. So, with that, I'm going to say you're in for a treat. I'm excited that everybody's here. And, Mike, here we go. I'm giving you the reins.
I received them. Good day to everyone, wherever you're coming in from around the world. It's good to be with you and looking forward to this next, what do we have? 55 minutes of time together. Um, as we dive in, I'm going to share my screen in a second, but let me first ask you, what would it be worth to you if you could turn uh, team differences, or if you're a solopreneur, client differences, the places where there's rub and there's friction, um, into strength? And what if you could turn communication barriers into bridges that add value to what you do, and how do you do it? Can you give me something? Give me a hand raised. Yes, that would be valuable. If you could, if you've experienced a few of those things and you could do that. So that's kind of the an overview of where we want to go today, and we want to talk about obviously transforming performance, but it's not through speeding up, not through pushing harder. We want to turn communication, those barriers, into bridges, and how to achieve breakthrough results, sustainably. Okay, so let me go ahead and get this slide share going here. All right, so we should have my slides on the screen, um, and we will go from there. All right, so we want to outline the Flourish framework, but let me tell you kind of first, where it came from and how it evolved. All right, so what you see on the screen, I want you to focus on that tattoo, those Roman numerals there. That is 2022. And for me, that's a year of ending, a year of beginning. I left corporate at that point in time. I left the web software industry, burnout, disillusioned, and deeply searching for answers. I said, no more, no más. If you know Roberto Duran, maybe I'm aging myself there. No más. And this was a pivotal moment for me that ultimately brought this Flourish framework. So it was born out of pain, the reflection, and lots and lots of deep study, from my past and from that point forward. And on the other side of my wrist, following that one through, is the word believe. Believe is on there to remind me to believe in myself, to believe in the future, to believe that there is a path. There is something that can take us forward from surviving to flourishing, that it's different from what traditional hustle culture and salesy speak has positioned and propagated and continues to do. All right, so that's a little bit of where this Flourish framework comes from and how we want to go forward today. But first, I want to invite you. You're coming from something, okay? You're coming from something, and maybe there's something after this. But let's just pause. Let's slow down. Let's breathe. Our breath and mind are so connected, and sometimes we forget that. So just take a moment, breathe in deep through your nose, breathe in, hold it 2 to 3 seconds, and let's exhale with your mouth open. Just let that go. Now, if you're like me and you like a little bit of movement, let's do that one more time, but let's take our arms out to the side. So they're starting at our side. Now we're going to breathe in through our nose. Hang them up to the top, all the way above your head, and hold that. And exhale. Kind of like angel's wings going out there. Okay. So we're letting go as we push that out. We're going to be here. We're going to be together. And we're going to proceed forward. So just take that moment. If you find yourself slipping away sometime, the notifications are coming in. Just interrupt that with that method there. Just pause, breathe, let it go, and be here. All right. Um, so as we begin, I want to lay a framework for why Flourish framework can be valuable. Um, and to do that, I want to look at 3 common universal challenges. Okay. These are things that in my years, decades even, of working with leaders across different industries, I've seen these things rise up. I've experienced these things rise up. There's the push harder trap. Okay, this is what I call the more syndrome. You know, where if we just get this thing done, if we just work more hours, if we can just get this, if we apply more pressure, it's a demanding of results. In fact, I was just on a call last week with uh, a man in software industry, um, mid 50s, and he said, "Yeah, I've moved my wake up time to 3 a.m. now so that I can get more done during the day." And I had to pause. I was like, "Oh my word, dude, 3 a.m. That's the middle of the night, dude. Come on, come on." And so push harder, but it's something that is common. There's that hustle demand, and we think if we can just do this, if we can just push through that. Okay, so key points for that push harder trap that you might identify with are a longer hour, or an increased pressure that can be on your team, or it could be on potential clients to make decisions, or with the clients to get you information. So the push harder, our response there is double down, keep going. And what happens though is often a diminishing return uh, on results there, and there's also a decreased engagement from our team. The second one is a communication gap. Then maybe you can identify it with this one. So another story from my corporate career. Um, so I kind of rose up through sales to become president of a software company, and the the software development team and I developed some friction. Okay, the software development team was frustrated with unrealistic deadlines from being pushed for information, and from my side, I felt like it was unnecessarily slow. We need information here. If this is going to go forward, if this is going to sell, we need to get this done. So we tried to work at clear processes, regular meetings, check-ins, and these things. But that some of that frustration continued, some of that miscommunication, the gap was there, and it ultimately was leading to my burnout in that sense. And, hindsight says that a lot of that was on me. But here are signs. There can be interdepartmental, or if you're a solopreneur, client conflicts. Just missing each other on where it should go, what it should do, how it should be done, the timeline it should be done in. And a common response to this is maybe you can identify with this. Let's have another meeting. Let's get another meeting. Okay. Or we need another process. Let's add another process to this mix here. Something to try to work at that piece there. And yet there can be increased frustration, decreased collaboration. And the third one, the growth ceiling there. I was working with another successful entrepreneur, and they had a small team, but they'd hit a plateau. Business was stable, but stuck. And the usual things of trying to break through that were not working. And the breakthrough came when she realized that the plateau, the ceiling, um, wasn't just about, well, it was about her strategy, but it was because she was forcing her way, her perspective on the team, and therefore she was actually limiting creativity, and she was trying harder with the same approaches. So therefore there was kind of a stagnation going on and a highly frustrated team. Again, taking away creativity, taking away the innovation, the ability to kind of think in new ways. So there was a growth ceiling. So um, maybe can you see any of these that you've experienced? Raise your hand if you've experienced to the degree. Push harder trap. You've identified that communication gap, maybe a growth ceiling in that. So if you have, I'd like to take a moment right now, and you've probably got a piece of paper. You've got something there. Write that down, okay? Um, for yourself, which of these challenges resonated with you? Okay, so this is just kind of you helping to identify for yourself a specific point that connects with you in your experience. So just yeah, take that moment, write that down, so you can hang on to that, because we want to begin to address that and break that down as we move forward today in this process. All right. So where we want to go is taking a look at what's behind the push harder trap, the communication gap, the growth ceiling. We want to in a way, step back, or we want to get a higher view. All right. So this is me at a higher view. This is my backyard. Okay. I'm just out in the backyard here in Quito. I'm at about 13,200 feet right here. And you can see Quito behind me. That's what, 4,000 meters high. And let me tell you, it's a different perspective on Quito from up here, right? When you look back. So want to emphasize the value of stepping back and slowing down, and the thought that what we think may be the issue or even the solution, a new process, another meeting, often isn't. It can be just a little bit misguided. It can be a band-aid approach rather than a breakthrough approach. All right. So what we want to do today is learn the process of stepping back and of getting that different perspective, looking back down upon something from a different angle. And the real problem when you step back is often a misunderstanding of human motivation, what motivates each one of us. Okay. And it can be different. And it can be different. So we want to put some language around that today, just to help us to have a common framework. We want to have each of us kind of go through this process to identify some of our human motivation within that. Okay. And we want to take a look at the value, or the problem of force versus flow. So the value of flow versus force in that piece here. All right. Um, so that's stepping back as we do that. And so the flourishing solution is to say that we each have some core needs, and our corporate system, and even our business models today, solopreneurs, the challenge is that, for a corporate solution, there's a job description, right? So there's a list of things that you should be doing. That's what your role is. But many times we're not in the hiring process, or even in the alignment process of when someone is part of a team. We're not understanding core needs and how that comes into play versus just this checklist of duties and responsibilities. So if we can align motivation and core needs, we can create sustainable momentum. All right. And, yeah, just recognizing that each of us, start with yourself. You are a vessel of value. Okay. You are a vessel of value. You have unique gifts, talents, motivations, and things to bring. And if you can understand yours, and if you can understand those that you are working with, we can begin to flourish and we can rise to new levels. All right. So we want to move forward to that. And the way to do that is to bridge the divide. There can be a canyon between us. And we think it's just, back to my example in corporate there. I just thought it was speed, it was effort, it was intensity. They need to get this done so we can sell this. And it was much deeper than that. Okay. So there was a canyon in communication that was going on. And here in Ecuador, I have the opportunity to zip line over canyons. This is me, and I'm on the right in that Superman pose there, head first, just zipping down over this massive canyon. All right.
Mike, can we see
Sure.
that? Is that a photo?
Um, Yeah, let me see. What am I showing then if I'm not? You're not seeing that? Screen sharing. Is there a little
I've been
lag?
happy listening, but now you're talking about a photo that I really want to see. You can see the photo. Oh, really? Oh, maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
Carry on, Mike. You're good. For some
All right.
reason, I can't. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Anika, you saw it, yeah? Got it. All right. Okay. So, yeah, a couple key points here that we wanna do. Slow down, step back, the recognition of the different drivers that are happening here, and that's what we're gonna call the 6 core motivators. So I'm gonna try to give you common language around this, and then, what it means to have adapt communication around this, for talking with someone, understanding them, in a world where everything is, the AI this, AI that is moving here, it's moving there. Yes, we need to understand that, but always, when you're dealing, you're going to be working with people, right? And so, one of the biggest things that we can do is continue to improve our people skills, and that begins with a little bit deeper of self understanding. All right, and this is Flourish Framework gives us a shared language to take a look at this. So there's 6 core motivators that you should see on your screen now, that I want to briefly introduce to you before we get into a process together to help you take a look at what yours are. So, security, variety, impact, connection, growth, and purpose. All right. So, you're going to see those continuing to come forward here. Let's just define them a little bit. Security, and you see the points there in the screen, but how it shows up. Someone with a security motivation is going to be thorough in planning and risk assessment. All right. In the team meetings, in the client meetings, they're going to ask detailed questions about any changes that are coming up. They're going to have a strong focus on quality control. They're going to like, established procedures. So they're ones that's gonna that wants to, think about another process. What's important to them is clear expectations and guidelines. Okay. Stability, reliability, some predictable outcomes. And flourishing for someone with this motivation uh, is, confident decision making in structured environments. They're going to have a confident decision making in that structured environment. Their excellence in quality is them flourishing. This person, okay. Project management roles, okay, compliance roles, some of those pieces or responsibilities can be super important for them. They're flourishing to them is going to be reliable performance and consistency. You can know what you're going to get with someone with a security motivation. All right. So variety. Okay. How this shows up is, that they're going to be the one in the meeting that's always coming up with a suggestion of a new idea. They're quick to adapt to change, and generally, this person will want to have maybe multiple projects happening simultaneously. They like to be having that variety. Basically, just and they're going to have you might call them like a creativity is important to them. Okay, but what's important to them is having some freedom to innovate, right? So if we have someone that has a security motivation and a variety motivation, another person with a variety motivation, we can already begin to see maybe there's some, that freedom to innovate could be a place where there's some friction that comes up. All right. They like new challenges, new opportunities, and flexible approaches, dynamic environments, their role to change. So when they're flourishing, they're driving innovation, they're driving change, they are creative at finding solutions, and they are energized by a new situation that's come up. Okay, this is the person that's saying, how can we use AI more in our business? Right, that's what they're saying right now. All right, so that's someone with a motivation for variety. All right, so impact is the third one, and it shows up with them ready to take on high visibility projects. Okay, they want to make that impact. They can have strong opinions in a meeting. They're going to be a very specific, thoughtful, forceful in what they um, think, believe, and they have a desire for that leadership role. When they're asked for a volunteer, they want to step forward in this. This is their motivation. What's important to them is leadership opportunities, to achieve something, to feel like they have an influence on the outcome. And yeah, so flourishing for them looks like leading significant initiatives, new project initiatives, having meaningful influence in the company and creating that visible impact. All right. So that's a third motivation. So if you're just reflecting, maybe you begin to see yourself, well, we're going to go through this ourselves then in a little bit. The fourth one is connection, the motivation for connection. And this person has a strong emphasis on team building, on collaboration. They're interested in the team members, the client, the well-being. Okay. This is a relationship-based decision-making person. And what's most important to them are strong team relationships. How are we connected as a team? And authentic and real communication. They want a collaborative environment. They want to feel like they belong, and they want others to feel like they belong in that. So flourishing means strong teams, inclusive environments, longer lasting relationships, and fostering collaboration in that for someone that has a connection motivation. So we're defining that language now. A growth motivation is someone that is always in a regular pursuit of learning opportunities. Okay. They want to sign up for that next webinar, that next course. Okay. They are seeking feedback on their role, what's happening for them, because they're interested in development. Always a focus on improvement, self improvement, and uh, organizational improvement, or client improvement. How can we help that client's business move forward? What's important to them: learning opportunities, development, skill advancement, new challenges. Flourishing looks like continuous learning, a place where they feel like this week, this quarter, I am learning, and they can look back and feel good about the personal development, the skill advancement, and the skill expansion, and even a career advancement that they have. So for them, seeing a trajectory of where this is going and how I'm advancing is super important in someone with a growth motivation. Okay. And then finally, the sixth one is purpose. Okay. Purpose, uh, how it shows up is a focus on the mission and the values. They're asking questions about that in the interview process, or as they're meeting with the client, or the client is interviewing them. They have a focus on mission and values. Okay, they're interested in the long term impact, the an emphasis on meaning, not just a means to an end, but the greater meaning of it. They have a connection to the bigger picture. What's most important to them is meaningful work. Okay. So, someone like this may be interested in being part of I want to be a part of a B Corp. Okay. Because it's a value alignment. They feel like they're making a difference, and they're thinking about their legacy. Flourishing looks like lasting impact, a living, working their aligned values, contributing to mission, building meaningful legacy. All right. Now, after seeing these motivators, can you see why, if we define these a little bit, why we can have some disconnect, some miscommunication, and some barriers, and yeah, some things that are just causing some friction within us. All right. So, um, next step here, we want to take a look at discovering your motivation. So I'm going to take a moment here. I'm going to need to switch screens. If I am sharing correctly, you are seeing a Google document on your screen called the Flourish Framework Assessment. All right. Yep. All right. So this is something that I want you to do. So if you can follow my instructions here in this, and I need to drop this into the chat. Okay. So let me get back. And then I want you to go ahead and make a copy of that. All right. So, going to be a few simple questions going through here. So, question number one, I want you to take a look at that now. You got your own copy. What do you value most in your professional life? And don't overthink this. Just make a decision there on what that is. Note that. And let's move to question two. What would motivate you to step outside your comfort zone? Okay. Positive outcomes, the thrill of trying something new, chance to stand out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom, you made a decision on that. Question two. All right, let's go to question three. When collaborating on team projects, what drives you most? Clear structures, creative freedom, leadership opportunities, team connections, developing new skills, contributing to larger goals. Make your selection. Go on to question four. What motivates you to achieve your professional goals? The new possibilities it creates, the recognition it will bring, the relationships it will strengthen, the mastery it will develop. Okay. Question five. There's only 9 of these, so just hang with me here. How would colleagues typically describe you? Someone else, or it could be your clients. What are your clients going to say about you? Reliable and organized, dynamic and spontaneous, ambitious and driven, supportive, collaborative, growth oriented, curious, mission focused, and dedicated. All right. Let's go on to number 6. After a challenging work week, do you prefer to review and plan for the next week, seek new experiences, share achievements, connect with others, focus on meaningful activities? Question 7. When facing workplace challenges, you typically seek clear solutions and structure? Do you look for creative alternatives? Do you take charge of the situation? Build support networks? View it as a learning opportunity? Connect it to a bigger purpose? Question 8. In professional relationships, do you value most reliability and consistency, flexibility and spontaneity, mutual respect, recognition, deep understanding, growth and development, shared values, and purpose. Okay. And the final question, after workplace conflict, what do you see in yourself? A tendency to want to establish clear guidelines, to move on, to assert your position, to restore relationships, to learn from the experience, align with the goals. All right. So you've got those. Um, let's go back up to the top then. And we are going to take a look at this. If you can see my screen now, okay, so I'm going to give you a little answer guide there. So in question one, if you selected financial security and stability, for example, that was a security one. So security, variety, impact, connection, growth, and purpose. All right. So I want you to do a self-scoring here, self-grading on this piece here. And they do flow in order. So if you get that routine down, so security, variety, impact, connection, growth, and purpose. Question two, three, four, six is up on the screen there. Seven and eight. And finally nine. All right. Now, if you scroll down in your document, the copy you have made there, you will come to the Flourish Framework Assessments Results Guide. All right. So just taking a look at a few of these pieces here. So if security was a dominant need, and it's going to give you some framework for how to work best with team members. You know, if you're an executive leader, what you can do well. Someone driven by security, you're going to thrive on creating that structure. Okay. And so what it can mean for you as a solopreneur as well comes up here in this area. Okay. And then development opportunities. So basically, I want you to take some time now and move through this, but particularly focus on yours. Okay. So they're in order there. So your results, as you graded that, you had one of those that came out as dominant. Obviously, maybe there was one that came out close to it as secondary. You can see some overlapping in those pieces. So go down to that area and take a look at it for yourself. You know, what was your dominant need? And then what is your role? You know, are you an executive leader? Are you a solopreneur? And then particularly take a look at the development opportunities that you see in each of these. Okay, this is a chance for us to take a look at that for ourselves. So for the security, the development opportunity is to balance stability with necessary innovation, right? Okay. When you're stepping back, when you're at your best, and when you're flourishing and helping others to flourish, you're going to balance that. Okay. Practice flexibility in fast changing situations, which you may not prefer. Okay. And develop comfort with ambiguity. All right. So let's take a look at variety as a dominant need. And you're gonna have this information, so that's your document, but I wanna take a look at the development opportunities because that's what's crucial here is to take a look at that. So for variety, their developmental need is to balance innovation with execution to maintain a focus on key priorities, not just shifting to the next new thing that's out there all the time, but what is our objective for this quarter, for this year? How can I work to maintain that, build consistency in operations? Okay. Someone with a variety motivation. Uh, this is going to have to be some intentionality or some hiring that they do to support themselves in that and to value that person that can bring some of that and to follow through. That's going to be important for them. So if impact was yours, then the development opportunity is to balance the personal recognition with the team success. Okay. I was just working with a Swiss NGO. And so some cultural things come into play here. All right. So the team was multinational and one of the leaders was Kyrgyzstan in Central Asia. And in Central Asia, from a cultural standpoint, there is much more of a tendency towards the strong leader mentality, who initiates, who takes credit, and so this was a little bit of a cultural understanding of where some conflicts were coming from, to for that person to recognize, oh, wow, if I might help motivate my team, might be connected to me more if there is some more balance in that area. Okay. Can you practice humble leadership within that? All right. So scrolling down, then, if connection was a dominant need, and we want to look at mm, development opportunities in this area, balance relationships with results. Okay. Maintaining professional boundaries, make objective decisions, and drive accountability while maintaining connection. Someone where connection as a dominant need can help their organization themselves by taking a look at these areas for growth. Balance learning with execution. Focus on implementing existing knowledge. Share learning to benefit others. Purpose then, as a dominant need, balance mission with practicality, the tactical execution, taking time to see the value of short-term results and considering, some pragmatic constraints. Okay. So, um, gives you some framework to take a look at these pieces there. All right. So I'm going to jump back then and invite you to share a moment. If you want to drop in the chat, what came out to you? What was the dominant one? And what was a interesting insight? Those two questions, kind of, what was your result? If you want to share that, and then what was an interesting kind of reflection as a piece of that? And yeah, please drop that in the chat if you can. Let's interact around those a little bit. Stefana, okay, she already had a insight there. I'd have more money-oriented desires, but apparently not the case. All right, very good. All right, what have we got here? Terry, okay, not surprised at all. Yes, Haley, okay. Current business situation is direct opposition to the motivator. Okay, good reflection already. Current business situations is in direct opposition to the motivator. Okay. Moses is coming out with some evenly spread out results. Shankar, yeah, very even spread. Okay, taking a look at those pieces. Yeah, Julian says, sounds like you're in balance. All right, very good on that piece. Yeah. Inika, okay, you expect it to be more security focused. All right. And Terry's giving a thought. Yeah, I don't feel secure at all right now with my business. Very good reflection. That's yeah. And so sometimes you can just be you can spin your wheels then. You can begin to kind of moving in those areas and and not necessarily being productive, but just trying to get something done. And now you step back and you see, okay, maybe this is a deeper piece of what's going on. Um, so what I had going on, that really led to my burnout was a failure to understand, my software development team leader had a very high security motivator, and, I had a much more of a high in the variety motivator, right? So I was trying to move things forward, the latest innovation, the latest pieces there. Let's get some, things done, some answers made where they were looking at, we need this to be, uh, thought through well. We need to be very methodical in how we go about this. And so there was a conflict there. And for me, and this is what's important is that the failure was in my deeper insight, lack of understanding myself and attributing a difficulty to someone else if they would just move faster. Okay. And hindsight down the pike is stepping back of what was going on there in those situations. All right. Um, yeah. So if anyone else has any more thoughts, you want to drop them into the chat about what you see in yourself, what you see in your situation. Do you ever see this with client situations? Okay. Sometimes this can come up when the client that you maybe be struggling with, the client that, or the client that you're really flowing with. Um, but maybe you're not getting the results or something like that that you want. There can be some of these things at play that are intersecting between these pieces here. All right. Um, okay. So, showing my screen again, then, and back to the slides. The Flourish framework um, is helping us stop just pushing. As I shared in my example there, my story of my push for results and what I thought was necessary versus flow. Okay, to flow, to step back, to understand, and to recognize the value that each different motivator, team member brings to the situation. And again, moving us from a divide to a connection and moving us from a ceiling to a breakthrough. All right. So, working with a small law firm recently, and we did this Flourish framework within the team, and it was just part of their strategic planning process. So they had a day of their strategic planning, and brought me in for a half day in this piece, and we went through this process, and then we talked about results together. And so what it did for them was to bring understanding. So number one, they could understand how they can work better together. But number two, then um, how they could realign some roles or some new pieces to assist in that. So again, for a law firm, one of the things that was important was they'd have to uh, grapple with how AI intersects, what they can do with AI in their business, right? And they're doing research and different pieces like that, but what's the security risks of all those kind of pieces. Well, so they began to move and assign that role to someone who likes that variety, who's willing to do that, but to bring that back to the team then. And so um, they they got beyond just a simple, this is a job description, and more to, and how does your skill set, how does your motivation fit into this? And should we shift some responsibilities? Ultimately, they have a greater understanding, they're working better together, and people are, aligned in their roles, and so they're able to come to work at their best with a motivation. And, we started with, a breath work, and I said, "Let's slow down, let's be present here, let's let go of what we just came from, let's not think about what's next." And, this is a piece there to slow down, to go further, um, and I want to have a little further dialogue about this. So, any questions that we have, we can feel free to um, get on the mic around this. But the Flourish framework is just developing a common language to help us understand at a deeper level what's going on. It's a piece of emotional intelligence of understanding what our motivation is, understanding what is driving someone else, and giving us perspective on how that is intersecting. All right. So again, um, you seeing me in another of my climbs up over the town of Banos here, looking back down on this little pueblo village below me, and perspective. Much different from being down inside that pueblo and looking up as to being up on top, looking down within. All right. Um, so, with that, I want to invite some communication and thoughts, reflections. Haley, you need a better pipeline. Okay. So, you're bringing that out. Anything more that you want to say about that? And Jillian, feel free to jump in. Um, your thoughts, helpful to consider the motivation of others. Yeah.
Haley, he called you out first.
Was I supposed to unmute? Yeah. Um, no, I think I've known deep down for a long time that security was the primary motivator, but I've engaged a lot of black and white thinking around that, and what does that mean? And, oh, well, if I admit that, then it means that I can't run a business because business is uncertain. Right. So, I really need to kinda dig into that, into my own thought processes around that and figure out, like, what are the alternative possibilities, um, because all these other like, I had a mix of answers otherwise, but this is, like, the foundation that I need to build on.
Hmm. Very good. Yeah. Anyone else? Any questions or aha moments for you that stood out just as you have stepped back and taken a look at this and have this common language to talk about?
Me, I think, Mike, this was really interesting. There's a lot of different frameworks around this that are all looking to have individuals talk across, different motivators, different approaches. Insight wheel is one that I tend to think about and that we use often in the corporate world. Um, what would be your advice? I know you said you've run these sessions for many people, helping them kind of understand their own motivators and how others engage. I always see that these interactions, these kind of workshops, are really fruitful about a better self understanding and everyone kind of understanding each other. But particularly in the corporate world where I sit, everyone says, "Wow, great! You're a red, I'm a blue. You're a security, I'm growth. That's great." And then the next day it all kind of goes back to the way it is. So
Yeah.
how would you recommend or what do you see as some of the most salient or most important things to really make sure you're taking forward in as you can continue to consider this in the way that you engage with yourself as well as with others?
Yeah. Yeah. So uh, the organizations that are going to have success with this are going to do two key things. They're going to find ways to keep this visibility and consistency. So visibility is coming back to it again. So it's not just a once and done thing, but we're going to have some set time monthly over 2 quarters or something like that. So visibility comes back to that, using that language in visibility places, okay? And then consistency is taking a look at how this can be incorporated. So in the corporate setting, sometimes that means ways that it's woven into the annual review process, or performance reviews, or different pieces like that, um, or that there's a even starting with that slowing down. Sometimes I coach organizations to say, can we start a meeting with something like what I did here? So there's that reminder to slow down and to step back, to breathe, rather than to just dive into an agenda. So that's a visibility and a consistency thing. But it's the organizations that are going to have success with that are going to be open to recognizing exactly that it's going to take some more time and effort, and those two keys, visibility and consistency, can help them move forward, and that they have to find ways to do that.
It's a good question, Liam. I also was thinking like, I think, yeah, the quicker we can take something and apply it, that's how we can start to try to get some traction. So I was thinking about like team meetings and sometimes smaller initiatives that you can start to test the waters on this and by applying some of the learnings. So yeah, I just went down a whole path imagining different opportunities to take action on some of these things in terms of how we even structure the teams that are going to do project X or whatever.
Yeah.
The thing. What was I going to comment on? Yeah, for me, just wanted to highlight for a moment, kind of raise my hand, call myself out in a way. When you were in the beginning, Mike, when you're talking about the band-aid versus the breakthrough and the force versus flow and some of those
Yep.
in the initial kind of different ways that we push the first three. I realize that I'm definitely a push harder person, but also previously when I had an agency that I was building and working a lot with clients and whatnot, was so like, yeah, it's like exposing for you to talk about me. Like, wow, yeah, absolutely. We need more processes, we need more meetings, and I'm gonna show you how we're gonna fix this bad boy, rather than actually realizing they have their own motivations. And as the client, they sure did. So it's really kind of, yeah, it's really great to stop and have that, like, kind of delayed aha moment, but it was really, really good to experience it anyhow. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm,
I definitely loved what you said there, just about the importance of doing something to initiate it quickly, right? So yeah, like with the Swiss organization that I was just recently working with. I mean, we did a series and we scheduled them out 3 weeks apart, basically, so that there was a presentation, so there's action items, and so we were going to come back 3 weeks later, and it's like, okay, what did you try? What did you do? So within that time period, they had to take an action, and then that was important in getting something going quickly. Anyone else? Final thoughts? I want to outline that if you do want to have a personal conversation about this, you see my calendar there. Be glad to follow up and talk more about that for yourself. I know that within one handshake, we're going to continue in the chat function to dialogue about this. That's what I love about the networking group there and being a part of that. So we'll continue this conversation as a way to keep spinning out those ideas, keep spinning out those thoughts, reflections, and next action steps. We can hold each other accountable in there.
yeah, the accountability will be huge. Really curious how everybody else applies this too.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right.
Yes, yes.
Super. So the replay
Yeah,
will be
thank you.
available inside our hub, the One Handshake hub. The replay will be available there. And for everybody else, hang tight. It'll be available via YouTube very soon as well. Um, and with that, look at us. We're even ahead of schedule, Mike. How impressive. You got through the whole deck, completed the activity, the workshopping, and we're on time. This is like, yeah, high fives for Mike. Well done.
All right,
Bravo,
thank
Mike.
you.
Thank
I
you
wanted
so
to
much, sir.
respect everyone's time.
Yeah, it's really excellent. I really appreciate it, Mike. It's terrific workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks.
You bet.
All right, everyone. Happy Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Happy Thursday. I know. It's Tuesday somewhere.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Cheers.